Then I made this with her, and I got into a trance, and then I put like stupidly in Facebook, enter the eternal fire, just like that in Facebook, 2013. And 7 in the morning, after make this with them and study this character and everything, I received just a phone call. Immediately when I put enter the eternal fire, receive a phone call of a friend, and I told him like, man, what happened? Yeah, his murder. Just go buy in the newspaper. When I went to buy the newspaper, I saw my best friend in the floor with the gray shot in the head, and he was one of my mentors in these illegal activities or whatever.
Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a new episode of Iblis Manifestations podcast. On this episode, it's my absolute privilege to have none other than Mr. Franco Muñoz. He is the vocalist and the frontman for the project Mordskog, which have been around in Mexico since 2003. And that project has now been essentially turned into a new entity of its own called Salve La Muerte, which we discussed on the podcast. And he has also been a part of the project called the Rise of Mictlan, which is essentially the rise of the underworld. It's a black metal project which they've essentially combined with the elements of ancient South American ritualistic aspects of particularly the Aztec tribes and whatnot, and it's a very fascinating project. And we got to talk about all of that, and obviously he's been a part of many other projects. But also a very important thing to point out here is that this, I believe, was actually one of the first times, if not actually the first time, Franco has had a conversation of such a nature after 20 odd years of being a musician. So I was honored to have him on the podcast and have this discussion. I would say arguably this is probably one of the most intense episodes of the podcast thus far. There are some crazy fucking stories on there that are probably not just crazy in the sense of they're not necessarily just shocking, but I think there's a lot of things that we could all learn from some of the things that Franco had to share on this episode. So I cannot wait for you guys to listen to that. And of course, as always, thank you all very much for listening to the Iblis Manifestations podcast. We very much appreciate your support. Any feedback that you guys have got for this episode, keep them coming in. As you can see, I do listen to the feedback, seeing as I have actually brought back the intro parts. So here we are. So of course, this podcast, I do not make any money from doing this. In fact, it cost me quite a bit to keep the podcast running. And if you wish to support it, the most that I could ask of you is, well, first of all, just besides enjoying and giving us your time and attention, if perhaps you wanted to support it, you can just share it around and help spread the word. And I think that will help quite a lot. So yeah, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to leave you with our conversation with Mr. Franco, and I hope that you will enjoy it. So without further ado, allow me to welcome Mr. Franco Muñoz to Iblis Manifestations. All right, Franco, welcome to Iblis Manifestations, man. It's an honor and privilege to have you on the show. And this is, from my understanding, your very first interview in this format where you've revealed your face, you were saying. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think it's just like the way to show myself more natural without using any shades or incognito or anything. It came like last month. I was really by some friends in common to just found really interesting your podcast, and why not do something for the first time in more than 20 years.
I appreciate that, man. Yeah, thank you. I know that we were talking about this before, and I've been really looking forward to having you on the show. And obviously, there's a lot to discuss in regards to your background, but just as a quick starting point, I believe that your band Mordskog, you've sort of recently been through somewhat of a, if you will, reinvention, and you're now currently going by Salve La Muerte. So I'm just wanting you to tell me a little bit about that, about those changes and what brought them around, really, and what's happening with the band at the moment.
Yeah, you're right. Actually, we did some kind of transmutation because when we found the band, when I found the band actually in 2003, it came just like kind of fanatic process, to have a black metal band. In this time, it was for me just like have something to make all my frustration and all my kind of familiar disorder or discomposition of being alone to make this cathartic way to create a black metal band. So between 2003 and 2008, we just have this. We just create music with Gianni from ex Belial and Impaled Nazarene, Gianni Letosari, and my old friend Nihil. And in this time, it was just to create like homemade garage black metal band. It was nothing planned to make like big or commercial or and it's difficult anyways for being a Mexican, but just to have a name, because in these times we don't have internet, and yeah, we have, but it was not these platforms, digital platforms to to get into the other countries easily. So it was just between us. We create a demo tape in 2003, and I think 2006 I decided to upload one of the songs in MySpace. So when that happened, I just saw like a lot of positive reactions, and then we planned to make our first concert in 2008, and with some session musicians, because Gianni just left to Finland, and Nihil just left me away in the road. So I didn't want to continue with other bands, because in this time, 2000, 1999 and 2000 was my first band called Black Empire with some friends, and then I will speak about it. And then I went into another band. So Mordskog was my own creation, like a really big inspiration of the Scandinavian black metal. So in this time, it was in this kind of feeling to express about all the great things that happen in a forest, So yeah, that was it. And then I can speak more about Mordskog, but in the main topic of that what you ask, yeah. During the years, we made a stop in 2013 because in 2013 my best friend was murdered. So and then it was the coincidence or the causality to be the 2013, and I decided to just make a break. But it was not a break at all. I was still working in this inspiration that happened, and then there were a lot of things when I start to believe in my path of spirituality. So more than the musical, just have um, um, band, musical band or something. So I decided to, with Murmur, my right hand and my strong pillar in both bands, Rise of Mictlan and Mordskog, to start over again in 2000 now 23
That's your
to just
guitarist,
transmit.
right?
Yeah, the guitarist, and just transmutate the band name and all the concept into Salve La Muerte, something more local, more Mexican, if I can say like that, more with the contemporary traditions of the that worship and these kind of things. So recently we made this decision to just change the name. It's the same essence, the same old school feeling and everything that black metal should be, and now it's like we just changed the logo and we are starting over after 20 years of existence with this band, of course.
You sent me some new tracks that you guys. Well done. You sent me some new tracks that you guys had been working on, and it sounded fucking killer, man. I mean, it had a real sort of edge to it. I mean, I'll be honest. I think we're all probably a bit like this, but whenever someone sends you some new black metal, there's always the thing of like it's predictable, and you listen to it, and it's still good. These are riffs that we all like, but especially as a musician, there are stages that you have surpassed within yourself. Then it's less impressive to hear someone else doing the same thing. So it's hard to hear something new which you find refreshing, and it's kind of like it cuts through for you. But one thing that I found very interesting about this new material that you had was that yes, it very much had the old school and the traditional elements, but it had a real edge to it, that it had a lot of character, which I think is very much unique to what you guys are doing, and whether that's the spirit of your own country and the environment which you've grown up around, and that sense of danger. That is really something that I think you can feel in that music, and I like that. It certainly gives it a lot more personality. So I'm just wondering if you can tell me a little bit more about that new upcoming release that you're gonna have with this band.
Yeah. Uh, First of all, thanks for the positive feedback. You are the first one that hear these songs, actually, beside my guitarist.
I
I
feel
wanted
honored.
that because, yeah, thanks. I wanted that because, of course, some. Mm, I have to put some stages of the band that I'm not telling you yet, but this stage is something more, as you said, refreshing, but also more mature in the band, because a lot of people and musicians pass through these 20 years, and the one that I able to connect nowadays is with my guitarist Murmur, because he knows how to handle myself. I'm not a guy that used to have a lot of contact nowadays, and my head is always full of a lot of things. It's full of stress. My country is full of stress also. So he is the one that brings discipline and compose things concerning his old school the learnings, if I can say like that. Um, um, Murmur is it's a guy that came from scratching stone from the really low neighborhoods and works to sacrifice so many things as myself to have this now the vision to develop and to compose something original, big or genuine. That's our main will in this fucking life, because he, for example, he's never listening new bands. He's never telling like, let's influence our music in this band. Or if I show him any band from the 2000s to now, 2010, to not be more like radical. Or 2010, I think, was the new millennium and the millennial, the new generations that start to create, that lose the feeling and the essence of black metal. Nowadays it's like there's a lot of bands that are using customs, are using recycled riffs of a lot of bands that have using it already, and the labels are not taking care of these small details. Which country you are, it's like, if you maybe are European, it's like, okay, you're European and you have 10 bands, it's quality, so I sign you. But they are not seeking really from people that are scratching stone and eating shit since so many years and trying to show something honest. But the most important thing to be professional, quality of sound, and genuine at some points, to not copy, not have a copycat or have different influences of different cultures. And in this time, I had all my will to say Mexico have a lot of things to create a great entity, if I can say like that, because it's not just the musical thing. We have the practical thing, the energetic, a lot of energetical thing, strong energies, and a lot of cults, a lot of suffering, violence, corruption. These kind of things, enforce us to create the most honest and dark and evil, if I can say like that. I never want to tag myself to say that I create this kind of music, but black metal should it be like that? Should be like that. And in this transmutation happened that that we want to add more folklore and more things that our lifestyle are we are living, instead of being more poetical or more like or unreal or just like unreal, fantasious, or I don't know how can I say it, but to be the more primeval and the more primitive sound, and also the look and the raw elements to create the band. Mm-hmm.
I think that's a very interesting and certainly a valid point in regards to Mexico in particular. I will say that you mentioned about the post-2010s being a weak time for black metal because it's losing its essence. I actually think that, yes, as always, you're gonna get a lot of bands that are just doing something for the sake of doing it. It's all just adding to the traffic without really having anything substantial to offer. However, there have also been some truly fantastic bands and releases which have come out in the last 13 years, whether it's by bands that already existed or it's by more newer emerging bands. You know, I mean, you certainly look at Icelandic bands like Svartidari or Miss Therming, or you can look at Oculus from USA. This is like really great fucking stuff that has only really come out properly in the last 10 years or so. But I can also appreciate that from the perspective of someone growing up in Mexico and being surrounded by that violence, you know, and that is a country that very much, be it through its ancient traditions or even its modern state, particularly with what's happening with the cartels at the moment, is a country that's very much associated with death and violence, which is sort of the is one of the most important ingredients to black metal. So I'm just wanting to and you know, obviously, as someone who comes from Iran, I also very much relate to what it is that you're saying and where you're coming from, and this is exactly why we're having this conversation, man. But I'm just wondering if you can tell me a little bit more about just what it has been like growing up and living life in Mexico, but also how that has impacted the way that you create and write music.
Yeah, just to make a little bit think when you say about the 2010 bands, of course, yeah, these kind of bands that you mentioned, they create music also from the 90s, the late 90s, and they want to evolution their own creations, you know, into something more like substantious, more knowledge, or something more intelligent, smarter. And then it's like when you find a way, and there's other bands that are, for example, the old French scene, that they don't want to create anything, you know, just things for their own and their own circle, and then it's also valid, you know. For
Sure.
me, it's not that valid to continue being in the underground, because I have spent 25 years in the black metal scene, and totally, you know, this is my lifestyle. So for in this in this time, we want to be seen. That's why I'm giving you this interview. I want to be seen and to share my thoughts, because a lot of bands nowadays, they are like copying like images of saints, images of carrying certain sea hills and certain things, and they are using improperly, you know, in my opinion. And for me, it's sometimes like an offense, you know, because we discovered these things in the late 90s, the mid 90s, by their own practices were just to discover what happened. We didn't have internet to have this kind of practices, or yeah, evocations, or using sigilization or anything. So nowadays, I spoke about 2010 through here musically. Yeah, there's a lot of interesting proposals, but a lot of also people that are using improperly and incorrect the things that for us are sacred, you know, if I can say like that. But that's another topic. Yeah, that's another topic, you know. We know who we are, and we spend our blood and our life into this genre, music genre. In other words, it's like what you say about Mexico. It's complicated, you know. There's the elitist circles also, that they came from having money, you know, from the ancestry, and the secret societies, or people that live here also, but they have a big level to create everything, bands, and to control the country. But speaking about me and Murmur, about Salve La Muerte and the Rise of Mictlan, we had been in a really complicated situation since we born, so nowadays it's harsh and complex to deal things because everything is going through worst situations. It's not, for example, in like here in Iran, if I'm not wrong, it had been always the confrontation about other religious and political groups, if I'm not wrong. And here it's it's harsh also there, but here it's more just the control about the um, the the control about the
The actual
trafficking.
system in society where the cartels have influence over, correct?
Exactly, the trafficking about all illegal things, but it's also monitored by the elite groups, and it's always like that because they are corrupt. So
And don't
it's
they
difficult.
even like invest in schools and things like that? Like you have got like
No,
very natural establishments that are actually backed and funded by the cartels, correct?
yeah, but nowadays, it's like exactly, it's like they we have Netflix now, so we have this how can I Syria? We have this series about the some important drug bosses and from Colombia also, and the kids are looking it and they want to be, instead of being in school or read a book, they want to be at 12 years, for example, 12 years, between 13 years, they want to have a motorcycle and a handgun and to be a hitman and sicario,
Yeah.
and that's complex and that's sad, at some point, because and when I was 11 and yeah in the mid 80s, no, in the late 80s, um, in this time I was playing cops and thieves, playing these table games and see for example these mm, um, Fangoria magazines and heavy metal magazines, math. I was also looking Playboy magazines or a Hustler and this kind of magazines, and sometimes it was not this corrupted mind, we were just searching what we found in the magazines and newspapers, and we have a newspaper, for example, like two or three newspaper that you just go to the newspaper shop that is in the street, but every day it show people without heads or people just died by
Yeah.
hitmans, but also you can buy candies there. So like the kids are used to see like by so many violence since they are kids,
So what you're saying
and
is
also
that you guys basically grew up with just like you said, normal things. Whether it's like Playboy or just these things, they're still relatively normal and tame. And that you weren't conditioned like the kids today, which are essentially they're growing up to be thugs, like you say. That's what they're aspiring to be. And I am aware that at the moment, like currently speaking, there's a lot of problems in Mexico because I believe was it the son of one of the main cartel people that
yeah
got arrested, and now they're killing people on the streets because of that, just to put
yeah
pressure on the government. Correct?
yeah it not just like killing people, but it's just more like they are making like destroying cars, like making this kind of like shock groups, um and of course people is dying, because if they kidnap a boss and they make a hand grenade or like to a boss, yeah, people is dying. They are not making like on purpose, but they are just making pressure. But the thing that the son of this guy was I think like like a couple of years ago or 3 years ago, he was already detained. But it was so much chaos in this small city, and in this small city. So the president just get him free, because this cartel that is really really powerful, they make pressure of the government, they start to destroy and kidnap people. They came into a prison to liberate prisoners, and then the prisoners were like, they gave some guns, and Mexico, man, is like a fucking Wild West film, like really like American film. It's
Yeah.
things are surprisingly happen here. Like you cannot imagine that when you see the newspaper, it's like, wow, this is like a crazy action film, you know. But yeah, actually, he's now in prison. But but the father of this guy that you said, he's saying that he's so sick and his human rights are violated, so they want he's asking for the extradition back to Mexico, man.
All right.
That can happen with so many money, believe me. I'm no one to say what will happen, but because I'm I'm not infiltrate or anything in this kind of big mans, but big people. But I think, yeah, maybe it it uh, it will be a possibility that he can come back from the extradition, because he already escaped twice, from prison.
Right.
He escaped because he was helped, of course. But and his son, he's telling that he suffers from depression. So maybe, yeah, he can be free at some point. You never know.
That's fucking crazy, man. And it doesn't
Yeah.
surprise me at all, actually. So, just on a personal level as well, when you're surrounded by something like that in society and you've got all this death and chaos around you, how do you approach something as volatile as black metal, just from an emotional perspective? Do you approach it out of fear, because obviously there's fear outside, so there's a lot of danger, or do you just approach it from a perspective of, this is death, we accept it, we take it for what it is? Or is it just a way of finding empowerment, or is it a mix of all of these? What's your emotional kind of approach when it comes to doing this music?
Actually, my emotional approach is totally practice what you preach. Like in Mexico, we have been. I have been in so many problems also, wrong with the wrong people, with the wrong time, and in the right time with the wrong people, and vice versa. And since I grew by my own, because um, I grew just with my mom. If I can speak a bit privately about more confident to all your followers. So no one can in the past was helping me to fix problems. So just mom, but mom was like working all day. So that solitude at some point, and that curiosity to see about these posters of Iron Maiden on the streets, big posters that were selling by people. When I was in school at 5-6 years, I went to a market that they used to sell a lot of Iron Maiden posters, Metallica, Guns N' Roses, with these skulls and blood and everything. And I was at some point curious about these posters, Exorcist, Hellraiser, and this kind of monsters, if I can say it like that,
Sure.
the Cenobites. And then for me, this curiosity for being alone took me to discover one of my favorite bands ever, Iron Maiden, because I grew with that. And I pray when I was in the darkness, when I was like 5 or 6 years, this big poster of Eddie and the devil from Number of the Beast, I pray for them, to take care of me.
Oh,
And this is so innocent, man, because and pure, because in this time I was fearing, that a lot of things that were happening outside, people that were stealing kids to sell organs, sell the organs, people, mom going to work, and I didn't know that if she's coming back, because I just turned on the news and a lot of people were like raped, murder and thing. So I wanted to be with the evil ones, and the evil protect me. In this case was Eddie and El Diablo, So my first LP, and I went to a shop a mall. It was a mall, and we used to have the vinyl. We used to have the vinyl of Iron Maiden, Metallica, Guns N' Roses, like more this kind of commercial BMG company bands, Sony Music, sold in the mall. So in vinyl, but it was a version made in Mexico, So it was the first time that I put in the vinyl player of my mom, and I heard the Iron Maiden, and I start to read the lyrics, because the lyrics were written in Spanish in this time, And the tapes, and then the tapes when I was in the shop behind the school were also made by typing machine with a Kodak photography, because in this time we didn't have traits from states or a catalog or anything. It was just the people that have these kind of things, or people with money. They make the copy, and they make copy in a Sony cassette with typing machine, lyrics in Spanish or English. For example, Motley Crue, that Shut the Devil is one of my favorite releases, especially this, for with the lyrics and all the things involved. And this was my first, how can I say, like, my first cercanía with. Yeah, it was nearness, my proximity with metal and deities or evil entities and everything. So, okay, coming back to your question, it's like these things, it grew my own path being alone. So being alone, I start to discover with friends in common, like years later, like in the mid-90s, for example, Samael, this side, Morbid Angel, like these are like one of my favorite bands and my first releases that I heard, because they were really evil, For me, it's, if I play that music, like Abominations of Desolations or Blood Ritual, Worship Hymn, Ceremony of Opposites, that this album break a new generation of black metal, Ceremony of Opposites, blah blah blah. So
classics, man, classics.
They said Once Upon the Cross, for me, when I played that, being teenager, was like, wow, this is really fucking evil. And then it attracted me more in the dark side of music, not just the heavy metal way, but because the heavy metal, Iron Maiden and what other bands I can say, like Motorhead and these fabulous bands, were just like a subtle evil, But when you go deeper and scratch deeper, there you found Samuel's Dayside, Morbid Angel, and then in the parallel way to be growing, it happens a lot of things, The first presidents that they were really, really corrupt in 1994. If I'm wrong, I'm not wrong. The first president that fuck us up really in a bad way with the free commerce treatment, or if Tratado Libre de Comercio is in Spanish, and then the country start to go down,
And what year was this?
So I think 94.
94. Oh yeah.
Yeah, with this, just search TLC Mexico, and then you will find everything. Of course, I grew about to not speak about names of people, and or anything. So I went sometimes in a lot of problems to speak more that I used to. So nowadays, it's not about fear, I just don't want to give promotion and to be into this bullshit. But
what is
but
it you're
yeah,
talking about? You're saying what is it exactly that you're referring to by that?
no, I'm just speaking about that the president in this
Right.
94, since he start in the throne, the country start to go deep,
It's gone to
like
shit.
fall, going to shit. Yeah. So
Yeah.
when that happened, a lot of corruption start to grow, and then the cartels start to grow also.
Of
But
course.
in
Right.
2010, for example, it was another in this when this president was in 2010, like leading the country. He was really in having dealings with the cartels and everything, and things start to get really really violent in Mexico. Of course, a lot of betrayship and a lot of blood and innocence, and it was not about just to be in speaking about drugs. It was something more: kidnappings, extortion, and rapes, and fucked up with the families of the criminals. So so if you are asking me how is like to be and to live in Mexico, of course we accept that. I don't accept just that, because I have been in through that. My first best friend, when I was 15, he committed suicide, and I have lost a lot of people in common that I know, and also in the black metal scene, that they were important for me, and family as well. So I accept, as you said, yeah, I accept it. But of course, I want to enjoy also the the other part, the life, because I have been in through this obscurity so many years. And nowadays, when some friends visit me in Europe, or if I go to Europe, I want to have the best, to give the best of me, or to be the best host when they come here. And the less I want is to speak about my background or about death or anything, because this is for me something that I respect so much. And she respect me at some point, that she have to protect me in a really really crazy thing, in a crazy yeah, times. And now it's like this term, and this excuse for being Mexican, and do black metal and put the Saint of Death. It's really overrated now for me. I want, because for me it was sacred, and I wanted just to hide it because it was something personal. But a lot of kids and a lot of people are using it just to be cool. So they are using this, as I told you, the sigilizations, these currents and everything, just for we are part of it. But
Yeah.
the ones that are part of it, it's really 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 evil people and really evil individuals that are not even in black metal. So
That's very true. That's very true. You know, the way I look at it as well is that I think you made a really good point there about just being able to maintain that sort of balance in your own life. Because the thing is, as well, to me, black metal, I think I probably yourself and most people who would listen to this particular podcast will probably already have an understanding of this, or at least that might be a very common opinion. But it's that it's not just a musical genre, but rather it's more like a weapon, and I think that you can also very much relate this genre to a type of I don't know if you're I'm sure you're probably familiar with the phenomena of people who slowly basically expose themselves to snake venom. To me, black metal is very much like that. You slowly keep injecting yourself with the snake venom, which is the music, which
definitely
in its bigger context is harmful to you, but in the smaller doses you almost build resilience to it and you learn from it, and it's like you're adding to your life through that. And to me, I think very much like you said, it's that I myself learned this the hard way, actually, is that you spend so much time focused on darkness and death, and that's all you want, and then your life will become just that, and that's a hard place to be in, you know, and it takes a lot of maturity and growth to be able to live past it. But also, one of the reasons I think many of our kind of people get into this and then feel this way. I mean, I actually felt really touched by what you shared about your relationship with Eddie and Iron Maiden when you were like 5 years old, and that you were using the monsters of those things, you know, that the monsters are our friends, and that you were using their metaphor as a form of protection. I think that's a beautiful thing. I believe I understand that, because I think too many of us, the world can be a crazy and fucked up place, especially if you're living in Mexico and or Iran, I guess. But
yeah,
I think that many of us find this level of empowerment in metal and black metal that it's I mean, it's always good to be a fighter, to be able to physically protect yourself. It's always good to have enough money that you're going to find yourself in situations where you're not going to be in trouble, or you can buy your way out of things. It's always good to have a good house. These things are good, you know, as a man, just as a defensive, protective thing.
yeah.
But black metal is this shield that you can wear so close to your heart that when you've got that thing, it's like nothing can come close to you, and it's almost like you could intimidate the scariest of other human beings out there with it, especially if they're not familiar to it already. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And there's this
It
demonic,
makes sense.
powerful thing. Yeah.
Actually, sorry, it's like it makes sense, you know. But for me, I have been away from for example, from the Mexican black metal scene mostly because the more harsh and serious people just left, and they maybe have a family, and then all the others are dead, or all others are really into, they are like junkies or drug addicts. They cannot handle their demons, you know. And nowadays it's black metal in yeah, if I can say about my country, because I know everyone and every fucking individual, new or old, I know who they are, and they want just to pretend and to be someone, to have someone, and then and to have a band, and to be cool and to please people and everything. And speak to a girl and telling like I have a black metal band, and then come and you know, for me it's I start to get away from a lot of people that I just respect in a subtle way, you know, not like worship, but I just respect, and because they just want to project black metal to be something cool and to be something to reach a dream, you know. And for me, of course, yeah, when I was, it's like when you are playing with explosives, because we use explosives since we were kids. From the independence of Mexico, you can buy small explosive with dynamite and throw it to the street and put some bottle of glass and then explode them and make crazy things with these things.
We have
We
the
have a
same
lot of
thing in
things.
Iran. It's the
Really?
last Wednesday
Great.
of the year. Yeah, we call them like little cigarettes. You know, like you light them up and then you just throw them around. On that day, if you
Perfect.
come out on your rooftops, the entire city sounds like it's fucking exploding. It's like war.
Yeah.
It's an interesting
Yeah.
sight.
It's like
Actually.
war.
Yeah.
And then you know, and
Interesting.
then you don't know, you don't know if it's really like shotguns or it's just explosive, you know, because you are used to have this inner war and in the country. So
Sure.
before I got into the main point, some friends of Norway, 2005, when they came to play in Mexico, they came into Independence Day and they were they hearing the explosives, but they didn't have internet in this time, you know, to search and mobile phones to Google what's going on, and they were just throwing through the under the tables and say, "Hey man, no, it's just explosives that people drove because the independence of Mexico, because they heard about this our situation." But
I mean, it's
coming back
understandable.
from
I'm laughing about it, but I guess
yeah,
I kind of
man,
get why they
of
were doing it.
course. But you know, one of the great things is like I know really like different individuals in Mexico, but I always respect my hosts. You know, I never play with them with a lot. I am like some kind of status, or I'm like hanging with some people. I always try to be humble. Of course, in the early years, I was so fucking crazy, and I was involving with the wrong people, and coming to the main point that you say about black metal and thing, and I lost it now. Coming about
Well, just when you're
I
hosting
lost it.
people and you were saying
No,
that.
before, but
Okay.
it will come back. Yeah, just
Sure.
ask me
Yeah,
another
yeah,
thing in the
that's cool.
comments.
No, I understand that, man. Yeah, it's one of them things. I think it's a different environment, and you, like you said, you were even with the wrong crowd. I mean, before we started the interview, you briefly mentioned to me that you were even. Did you say that you were arrested before or something like that? You said you had
So many
some.
times. Yeah.
All right. Okay. I guess that
Yeah.
shouldn't come as a surprise, actually, because I guess it's different being arrested in Mexico than, say, in the United Kingdom.
It come again. Yeah, it came now.
Okay.
I just want to, you know, appreciate your followers and of the channel, because if they reach in this point and they don't feel confused about my all my minds and all my chaos, you know, I appreciate that they are still looking the podcast, and of course you and the people that are faithful to your, and they are believing that you are making a good job as a friend, interviewer, and also in the podcast.
Yeah, you're
But
doing a great job, man.
yeah,
This is going all good so far. So
I'm
yeah,
really
yeah,
really first time I speak.
yeah.
I make this application and everything, but whatever, you know.
You're doing well, man. You're doing well.
Yeah, appreciate.
One thing that I really also wanted to
No,
ask you.
I just wait this, because otherwise I will lost it.
Please,
The
yeah.
thing that you were speaking about, the poison, that the small doses of poison, and I just spoke about my friends and people that they were murder, and some of black metal people that they are just junkies and die lost. It's from other countries also, because you came to black metal like something that I want to make a band that looks good. I want to use corpse paint. I want to use the spikes, like the war things. I want to use the upside down cross or some sea hills or pentagrams or whatever. You come innocently and to um, to to use something that probably will destroy your life. It's like you just so fucking open a book of claviculas, or you know, some book to make some talk shit, and then you start to make spells and to make things without warn, and to see the small letters, or to just to sign a contract without seeing the small letters, you know. And for me happened like that, because mostly people that are just making bands and say, I want something cool, to use black metal like to unleash my frustration, and just to use black metal and post BDSM concept because I have a short dick and I want to show that I am sadomasochistic, or I am a fucking dominator or whatever, you know. But no, man, it's like, for me, yeah, I was alone and I was sad. Then I found black metal a cathartic way to comfort my sadness and comfort my fears, if I can say like that humbly. But then, yeah, I have to sacrifice a lot of things, man. I lost friends, I lost girlfriends, I lost loves, I lost family, I lost a lot of people that truly believe on me, not in the black metal thing, just like a person. But I just transformed myself into a monster. And yeah, in this process, yeah, I travel. I met a lot of friends that have suffered so much. I met you recently, and I see through your eyes that you are feeling what I am saying. But man, for me, I cannot say, yeah, black metal gave me the best things that a normal person can um, enjoy, like a normal person, you know, go to work, don't have problems, live in a country without violence, try to pretend that playing black metal, well, this sort of thing, but try to present black metal without having a problems in the country, not even, you are not feeling the thirsty, hungry, you are don't know how to feel a broken nose, a broken eyebrows, being sliced by the knife, shoot, being imprisoned in a really fucking worst jail, to survive as the strongest was. You don't know that, but you a lot of people start a black metal band and then say, okay, I want to be cool. I want to make a corpse paint. I want to make spikes and speak ill about the sacred dogmas or religions. I want to be just a rebel, you know? Yeah, man, all right. But you don't have the environment, the chaotic environment, the dark forces, the primeval energies and entities, whatever you can say it. Every fucking archetype that can fucking eat your fucking brain and send you to a corner to smoke crack. So that's other thing, because you go searching something to have a band, to fuck girls, to have groupies, to have fun. But if you are looking from the abyss will search. I will look at you. So that's
Absolutely.
other thing, because I was not satisfied to play black metal. I wanted to know more about darkness. I wanted to know more about energies. And then, who are you? You're searching for us. All right, come, taste a little bit of this. And then my surroundings start to fall. Even if I have a really strong psyche, I also met the wrong people. I met, yeah, a lot of things that just realized that, okay, he died. I just left and he died. He was murdered. And then this happens. And people that I was like, oh, these guys are so strong. No, even they are strong. Backstabbers. Bah, boom. Yeah, okay, I'm strong. We're strong. Let's fight. Let's make this. But then another person comes, and there's a lot of cowards, man. There's cowards like everywhere. No, besides black metal, in black metal, you know, a lot of internet warriors and a lot of persons that are complaining about politics, about trends, about everything. Man, early 90s. No, early 90s. I didn't live early 90s with black metal, but mid 90s, late 90s. Black metal was general. Speak about something to express, it was no problem. 2005, a lot of bands from Poland, from the certain labels that I recognize perfect because I was really a follower of these bands. But man, they were just expressing themselves. They didn't want to be in a radical groups to attack or anything. Man, I'm Mexican. I had been in Germany so many times, in Poland, and in I cannot with persons that are with really radical beliefs. That was not the problem. The problem was just immigration. The problem was just that they defend their own people, like the Aztecs, and if I can say like blah blah blah. We are going to this topic later. So now everything is the crystal generations to not speak about anything, man. It's like if you complain about this, you are like that. If you are expressing this or showing a rune or an old thing, you are like that. And the problem is like these kind of things. I cannot live like metal because I lost already things that hurt my fucking heart. I cannot leave my country because this country showed me so many things, so many great things besides the food, besides the culture, besides to be a real warrior, man, to survive in an environment that is harsh, backstabbers, betrayers, corruption, people that are not strong in the psyche, just like have a gun and can kill you, like kids. So I start now to handle this kind of you become a psychiatrist and psychologist and everything to some friends in the neighborhood. They are now hitmans and they are really, really popular because they kill 20, 30 people. And they come to me and say, man, what's going on? And they say my nickname. And I say, okay, fuck. Say, yeah, man, you and my father were really good friends. And then you beat up my father in a fight, but we respect you. And then it's like, all right, thanks, man. You know, but the fathers or the grandfathers, because in some years ago, that's why I speak about politics and everything and a lot of the Polish scene. I want to connect this conversation because when I was out in the late 90s, I was making in the top of the roof of the building, flame throwing with some animals dead. And people in this time were even more religious, man, because now you can put the upside down cross and everything and nothing happens. You know, it's like, okay, you are cool because you make that. You're against that. And the new generation are totally corrupt. But when you did that 25 years ago, it was like, oh no, burn him, like in the Inquisition, if you can say like that.
Yeah.
He's making that. And so I live in a country of 90 or 95% of Christianity, Catholicism, and some Christianity. And when I was wearing black in these times, with these dead animals and in the roof making photos with the flamethrower behind the gas tank and the fireworkers coming, and I have to hide in my apartment because the fireworkers thought that the gas tank was exploding because they were just on the roof like a big flame, and people start like, the gas is going out and the building is going to explode. And then I saw the fireworkers and I have to run and hide into my apartment, you know, and because they didn't knew about black metal or they didn't knew about it was just kind of release the inner hell throughout. And
fucking hell, man.
That's the thing.
That just sounds like totally fucking chaos, you know. I mean, in a sense, I can appreciate how inspiring it must be, but still, you know, like even just earlier, how casually, right at the beginning of this conversation, you just dropped in that one of your friends got murdered in 2013. I mean, how many people...
My best friend.
this is what I mean. I mean, how many people listening to this right now can even say that they've experienced such a thing? And it's crazy. And obviously with all the kidnappings and everything, I spoke to. Obviously, you know him anyway, but Alvaro, who's in Watain and also Halpen, and obviously he was in Chile, and he had people close to him also kidnapped, and he spoke of a somewhat similar environment, and it's, I in fact, I fucking love the fact that I can listen to people like you guys, and obviously on a personal level, I do still relate to this anyway, but I love the fact that I can listen to you guys, and it's that you take something like that, which can be so intimidating and so challenging, and then yet you choose to turn it and then filter it through a form of art and just the way that you obviously philosophize life as well, just besides the creation of the music. I think in the context of just like black metal in general, I don't think that quote-unquote rough upbringing is necessary, because obviously you have a lot of bands that I mean, there's so many bands from Sweden. Sweden isn't exactly a rough country, but I also think there's something else there, maybe spiritually and energetically, that seems to translate itself in a very interesting way that creates that kind of darkness that a lot of the bands have. But I think it's not a necessity as such, but I think it gives you such a perspective of what this art form is capable of, because as we keep saying, it's a weapon. It's not just like you say, just to wear an upside down cross and then say that, oh, you're cool or whatever. But there's another thing as well that I will say, and this is something that actually has granted me a lot of peace of mind over the years. And then this is something that, obviously, when you take the genre seriously as you do personally, then when you see other people not doing the same, that can be very frustrating. It's like being a religious person and then seeing someone else of the same religion just take the piss out of it and claim to be the same thing as you are. That's a disrespectful thing. I get that. But also at the same time, I think that there are only two outcomes out of that. Because a lot of times when we're first young and we're starting out, I think it's okay to have a tool of expressing yourself, because you learn about yourself by expressing. Do you know what I mean? And I think
totally.
And you either take that further and keep going deeper into it, like many of us have done, or eventually people are going to get tired and they'll cut their hair and then go and do a normal thing, and that's fine.
Exactly. I was thinking that actually.
Yeah. Because if
I was thinking that I saw so many people goes and go back, and people that have 10 years, they reject and they became Christian or they got married and everything. And I have seen that so many times, and I have seen so many people trying to handle black metal in extreme ways. But if they are finding like really, really thought shit, they just escape and they just hide, and they are not having this braveness to resist what you evoke, and if I can say it like that.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, very well put. And I think that's why it's very important to just if anyone is approaching this genre and the composition and the songwriting, I would really take a careful look and consideration at the spiritual aspect of things, not political, because I think the political side of it is just, that's that I'm not too interested in that. I'm interested in the sense of the spiritual expression and the empowerment which you can get from that, and obviously everyone will look at it through their own scope anyway, so you can't change that. So if they want to see it politically, they can. But just whilst we're on the subject of spirituality and obviously your background as well, you have this very interesting project called Rise of Mictlan, and I really wanted to talk to you about this, because it's essentially you haven't released any albums or anything.
No,
you have not. There's nothing like that out there. However, you do have this one interesting little documentary that you did with Wacken from Germany, and it's essentially a series of interviews and things like that. But then it's also a live ceremony that you do, and that is very much inspired by ancient traditional Mexican attire and music and things like that. So I'm just wanting you to see if you could tell me a little bit more about that particular project, because I think it would be a great segue to also talk about the ancient history of your land as well.
Okay, I will connect everything that I told you before with this evolution or transmutation about the thing I told you about. I was into really in like swimming in the abyssal, in my abyssal mind and consciousness, and also in my negative and environment and chaotic bubble, poisonous bubble, if I can say like that. All right, so this is something that I haven't spoke before, like yeah, in public, if I can say like that. Okay, so being into black metal showed me. I told you I never reject. Yeah, I never reject because I'm really proud to grow in this country, as I told you, without any political misunderstandings. I really feel comfortable that this country showed me so much, but in a harsh way. This is one thing.
Tough lessons.
Black metal showed me the first illusion of myself to create a band as an unmature individual for using being just against something, against control, and against religion, and against the formal human lifestyle to have a normal job, to bring the work to a boss, and this systemic normal human being thing. And then when this changed, it brought me this abyssal consciousness, this to eat shit, to destroy relationships, to destroy pure love, and to destroy things that all the human beings need to have stability and balance, you know? And when I was lost doing a lot of these things, fortunately, I never have this extreme way to rejecting commit suicide or by overdose or just put a bullet in my head. I was always brave to say, okay, you went into this trouble, you have to be out of this trouble. You cannot be coward just to quit your life as your friends or get murdered, because not even that. I say like, yeah, I won't get murdered. Like in this time in my life before 2013, because it was so impact that my best friend were murdered because I was in the way to join him. But then in this time I was with a girlfriend that I was studying, and she told me like, stay with me, let's go to study, and tomorrow just meet your friend later. And I was like, yeah, I want because I was studying about Carl Gustav Jung in this time.
Okay.
And we were creating this kind of enlightenment and the shadow and the mask thing, and for me it was interesting to know more about myself and to go to the typical and traditional wrong steps that I did, you know. So I say my ex like, yeah, this is really interesting and I want to know more. I want to feed my knowledge to with this topic and this individual particularly. So yeah, the other day this girl and me, I was creating after that I made this Indian deity that defeat the other one of this one of Cult of Fire. This Indian deity that is over there looking at me. I made something with them with some menstrual blood and a dagger with dagger that I want to show you. Maybe you can understand it. But yeah, I will go there. But then I made this with her, and I got into a trance, and then I put like stupidly in Facebook, enter the eternal fire, just like that in Facebook, 2013. And 7 in the morning, after make this with them and study this character and everything, I received just a phone call. Immediately when I put enter the eternal fire, receive a phone call of a friend, and I told him like, man, what happened? Yeah, he's murdered. Just go buy in the newspaper. When I went to buy the newspaper, I saw my best friend in the floor with the gray shot in the head, and he was one of my mentors in these illegal activities or whatever. And no, not just in like that, just like a real father and real brother that I never have. So
holy shit!
When I saw in the newspaper him, I totally went down and says like, all right, if I went with him instead of doing this spirituality and knowledge advance, I am dying. I dead also. It could be dead also. So 2013.
Talk about a butterfly effect, man.
Yeah, man. The typhoon is in the other side of the fucking world. When butterfly is flying. So I all my fucking how can I say? My empire was destroyed in immediately, and I say, fuck it. Mordskog is split up, and then a lot of people start to say, man, why you made that decision? You have not even released your full length, because we have like full lengths, but I never released anything. That's our story. Okay. But I say, man, where's the what? Fuck it, I don't want to know about anything. Now it's done. A lot of murders and a lot of things happen, blah, blah, blah. So I just put my Barbie in the floor and says like, oh yeah, I don't want to know about anything. And I start to be more into the spiritual thing, because I chose the spiritual thing with this Indian deity, and in this thing that showed me that he, in the parallel world, if I can say like that, it came to my mind to put enter the eternal fire, because he's going to fire, because he was not a good person at all, and he is going there. He's not going to heaven. Of course, I'm not going to heaven, and that's other thing. But how things connect, frequencies, vibrations, intuition, and I can speak about a lot of things. But in the end, I took a break. And then 2016, after 2 years, I made the band alive again. 2016 winter. And then during 2017, in the next 6 months, I was nearby to die. And it was something really strange, because first in January, I think, it was 2018. 18. Between 2017 and 18. It was winter that I think I reformed the band. But when I reformed the band, I was more into the spiritual way, not in the practical, primitive, dead worshipping way, because it was too much, so many things. But I tried to rebuild Mordskog, and when that happened, I start to get more deep, because I kind of took him and some things of him to work with him, and I start to be into more deep cults or spiritist currents.
Just for the sake of clarity, when you say work with him, exactly what is it you're referring to?
Yeah, people that knows will know. I don't want to be specific.
Okay, all right. I was just I understand.
It hurt me so much that I start to work with him, but mostly he's working with me. So because I'm alive still, so we decide to work together, and then I start to be more and more crazy, and I start to lose a lot of things. One of the things was I went to the shower, and I light up a candle, and I made something in the shower. But when I light up the candle, I didn't have this knowledge that I should use matches in certain things. So I used the gas to light a candle, and it was a big mistake. So I make that, then I went this, and in the shower I was creating with the vapor in the door. With the vapor I was making the sigils, and I create this deity that I spoke, that is in front of me. I create her with the head and with the sword, and I create her listening a certain band and a certain song. And when I made that, my kitty, start to scratch the outside the door of the shower, and she started to scratch like that, and she was like anxious, and I was like, what's going on? So I finished this vision about what I wanted to express, and when I opened, she run to the kitchen. Then my dogs were kind of fainted in my bed. I was like, what the fuck? Two big pit bulls were sleeping, like knocked down. And when I smell, I felt like someone just fist in my chest and broke this bone, and I was like, and when I went to the kitchen, I just saw the door of the stove broken it in pieces. So you know what happened? I went there. The boiler, the warning, the boiler. It's this machine that gets warm the water.
Yeah.
This this made ignition, and I left the stove open. So when I was doing this vision, I found that the stove, the cover of the stove, that is crystal, was totally in pieces. All the gas was out, and my kitty just told me like, "Hey, we are dying because this smell." And I went, and this smell was so fucking strong that a lot of people is dying like that in Mexico. That's really stupid, but it happens, you know.
That's fucking crazy, man. I've heard it has happened before. Actually, I know
a lot of people is dying in Mexico like that.
Yeah.
Because we don't have electric stoves. Yeah, we have. If you have money, you buy electric stove, but we have this gas old school stove. So I just open the windows, try to put my dogs like alive. I know the word, but I can't remember. And then I was nearby, maybe to die. That all the animals died, and I die also by inhale the gas, this thing. So when that happened, it was like a red flag that something was wrong. So I think 2 weeks later, I went out to a friend. I went out to the shop. When I went out to the shop, someone just came and make me this, shock me. And normally this is not happening in my neighborhood because, yeah, I have some kind of respect. And then I saw like someone make that. Like, what the fuck? It was a good friend that was in prison 15 years. I was like, fuck, man. What's up, man? It's like, wow, yeah, man. I heard that he was around, but he was doing, he got some revenge and shot another friend and whatever. But, and he's like, what the fuck, man? And what are you doing here? And he's like, no, no, no. It's just got released 15 years. Yeah, I heard what you were in prison, blah, blah, blah. It was funny because I went with him to drink and he started to say, oh, man, in prison, I spoke about you because, you were the only devil worshiper in the late 90s doing these strange things. And everyone said, I know a real follower of the Hornet One. I know a real one. He was in prison speaking about me. He have speak highly of me because I did so many stupid mistakes, or I lived my life really in a more emotional than in the rational thing.
I understand what you're saying.
So yeah, so he made speak highly about. I know a real worshiper of that one, and then I will start to show him a lot of snuff videos and everything, and he told me, man, this is harsh and this is crazy, but I just want to be just, if I will die, just get a bullet in my head and just end everything. And then he say, yeah, I understand you. What are you saying? Something happens. People start to come and everything. Then I gave him a statue of the saint, of the black saint. That I have it here, and I told him like, bro, this is for you. This is already prepared. This is for you. She will take care of you. And then he told me, oh man, thanks a lot. In prison I never have this, and blah blah blah. And this is 190 meters guy, really strong guy. You see him and intimidates you because he is really, really a criminal, in all extensions of the world. So when he gave me that, I gave him this. He told me, come with me. We will have some fun with these guys. And say, no, man, I'm just going back home because I wanted to shop something just to eat and read something and then pass out. And he told me, no, bro, come. No, I don't want, go with these guys and all is well. Yeah, it was nice to see you, bro. Then the day after, his brother just come to me running and he say, man, you went with my bro? I say, yeah, sure, last night. You gave this? And he showed me this, the saint, black saint, full of blood. Say, yeah, what's going on? Yeah, he got shot like so many times just like after you. Then I was like, okay, what that happened? And I knew with which guys he was, I said, oh man, fuck. All right. So he just, I just felt like, wow, again, that's some red flags. I can tell what happened to him, but something happened really, really crazy. And because, yeah, it's, I can tell you later, but not in the media. So yeah, something happened with him, and then I say, okay, this is the second time. Then during this time, I spoke with Ole from Terratur, and I was like telling him about, yeah, man, I have this band, about Mordskog and blah blah blah. I have these plans because things are falling in this year. But before speaking to Ole, I want to tell you another thing that happened before that. So really, really fast. I went to a complex of buildings of a friend just to have some fun, and he have some stuff with him. So when I arrived to his complex, one guy, the security guy to make in the complex, he told me, you cannot come in. And I was like, why? I'm visiting my friend. Say, because you don't have an ID and he have to call me. And he say, man, I just give you some money. Just let me pass. I just pick up him and we will have some fun. Nothing happened. He say, you look like a really tough guy, like a cool guy. Yeah, I will let you pass. But just please call your friend and tell him just that you are here. And that he can trust me. So I call my friend and say, hey, man, I'm here, but the security wants that I call you because he cannot let me pass. And he say, fuck him, my friend, because he was just working for the complex. And then he got pissed and he told me, no, you cannot pass now because
Right.
this motherfucker have to learn that I working for this complex for the security of the complex. And I say, hey, man, I'm coming back soon. And I just come inside with my car to pick up him, and he went with his motorcycle come. I told you to not come in, and then a lot of drama was happening. And then he called the police, and the police in this neighborhood is so fucking corrupt, man. So fucking corrupt. You cannot even imagine how they are making, a lot of things.
Right.
So the police came and handcuffed me and handcuffed my friend, and he found stuff in my car, and he said like, you are directly to jail. You cannot even
What
have
did he find in your
any.
car?
I won't tell.
Ah.
It's like living in Mexico is complex. I cannot tell details because you never know how people can use this material. So
I can
it's
appreciate
it's
that.
just
I've been in that
yes, just for
position before.
security. Of course, I will tell you, but I won't make a trace, or I make um yeah, well, you know what I mean. So they found some stuff and said, "Yeah, you go to prison." And I say, all right, man, it's like, now what you are going to tell me? Say, turn on your car. And I told him, I don't have the keys, you have the keys. My car was not working to go out the complex because he wanted to use my car for some stuff, also um, to maybe that he sells my car and get money or whatever. But I have a statue of the same saint, and the car was not working. So he just say, fuck your car, let's go. And yes, they took me and my friend. They took us, both of us. They took us for a really, really dark place, like a sewer place with old dogs and all the dark. And they wanted to kidnap us. And if they don't give him money. They wanted to make something really bad of us. They took us our mobiles, so I have to just call like one of my contacts and say, man, this happening. So they spoke and they let us free after he spoke with him. And of course, we have my contact just make some stuff and everything was fine. They just wanted to disappear us. But the thing is like, good that I knew this guy. And the other thing, it's like, uh, um, they didn't want to take us directly to the police station because they already were asking me how much you have, what are you doing, if you're a musician, give me money and maybe some instruments or music instruments. I say, yeah, I have a microphone. Sure. Ah, you are poor, we need Sennheiser and more. They were like really like
Oh wow.
motherfuckers
Well,
trying
shows
to
that's not the
extortion
first
us.
running with it, is it?
No, they
Yeah.
knew what everything. So in the end, I we got kidnapped by them like 4 hours, making so much pressure. But good that I have this contact and everything was fixed. Okay, the Rise of Mictlan. After these stories, like looks like I saw in the film or something, I saw myself and I say, man, now after he died and I rebuilt the band, things are not working. Why? Because I'm in the dark. I'm in the abyssal mind. I'm in the negativity. I'm worshiping really, really crazy and untamed deities, and they are not helping out.
Which is very
They are
dangerous, by the way. Like, a lot of people, like, they don't even take these things seriously, or they just look at it as
yeah,
a gimmick. But honestly, it's, if you want to enter that side of spirituality, and if you're gonna play with certain deities, you better be fucking prepared, because it's dangerous.
exactly. That's why I told you, Shai, because a lot of people, they are just in black metal by the surface, but black metal is multisensorial. You
Yeah,
have to
very
fit
much.
black metal with the spirituality, with music, with smell, like, yeah, making some stuff, and with the mind, with the smell also,
Yeah.
I always like to cut my tongue and spit what we make us alive, like the blood. And since 2002, I always like to make this, cut my tongue and in life, and then to spit all the blood that keeps us alive, because it's kind of express that you're wasting the red elixir that keeps you alive, and that's something really controversial thing, because I have made it so many times since I have memory, and in festivals that are like, for example, in this time backend that told us like, hey, you have to pay the mic because it's full of blood and it's useless because the corona and blah. People is complaining like like they cannot use that, but
But the
of course
symbolic intention
I
behind it,
understand.
essentially,
Yeah,
the symbolic
exactly,
intention
exactly.
behind it is essentially to take away the gift of God and throw it away. That's what you're doing,
Exactly.
right?
Of course.
I
Also too,
understand.
because the cup of wine and everything. Yeah. That's good
Sure.
that you mention it, because I don't want to pretend that I know so many things also, and that's good answer. But the thing is, like, I know it. I make it because I never say it in the interview or anything, but I make it because of that. Not because I want that people looks that I cut myself and I spit blood and it's so cool. No, no, never, man. So otherwise, I can do a lot of interviews about speaking about everything, but it's something personal. So when I
I
made that,
understand.
uh, it was 3 times nearby death. Because these police guys can just tell that we were doing other stuff and put fake fake announcements that we were doing something wrong, and they disappear us, and they are just cleaning their hands. But the reality was just like that. They found some stuff, and then they extortion us, and then I have this person that help out, and things were not worse. So after these things, it's like things are not working out. What should I do? All right, go to the temples. I went to the temples. It was in March, to 21 of March, when the spring equinox comes to Mexico, in Mexico, and the father serpent comes not in Teotihuacan, not in the pyramids that we have near here, but it comes from in the Tajín. They come, no, not Tajín. I forgot, in Mérida, Chichen Itza.
Yeah.
Every summer, the feather serpent and the dragon comes upside down, aligns like in the pyramids, like in these stairs, and it appears like the sun and the equinox come, and it's a new season. So mostly every year I come and receive the equinox, and of course I also do the pagan solstice things, and the Mexican, because we in Mexico, we are one of the oldest civilizations, one of the 6 oldest civilizations in the world.
No, with the
Egypt,
Aztecs, right?
yeah, of course, man. All the Aztecs, Aztecs, Mayas, and the the Mesoamerican culture
Yeah.
that they came. We, the Egyptians, the Mesopotamians, the Chinese, the Indians, and the other ones that are for, I think, it's like in Ecuador, like in Tajanitsuya, like near the Incas or something. But we are part of the six ones that create pyramids. But the
Correct.
Mexicans, we create more pyramids. Whatever. I'm not making a competition. We who make more pyramids, but we are one of the six, even more oldest than the Vikings because they never made pyramids. They made other things. But all these civilizations, like the Egyptians, the Mesopotamians, the Indians, the Chinese, and the Mesoamericans, we are connected at some point. We all have serpents. We all have pyramids. We all have ancient rites.
Which is fascinating, right? Like there was
It's
almost like
fascinated.
many of them, there would have been no way for them to have been connected, and there's so many interesting things. And like even with the Aztecs in general, they were pretty like a fascinating civilization to observe, but they were also fucking crazy. I mean, they had such a strong influence from psychedelics and
Yeah,
psilocybin in
sure.
particular
Yeah.
in their ceremonies.
Yeah.
Like they even, it's the Aztecs. They've got the. I mean, they say that the number might be exaggerated, but they've got the record of sacrificing up to 80,000 people over 4 days, which
Yeah,
is
sure.
crazy.
But sure. But that, as you said, we were like just a part of the story, but with really radical beliefs. I want to connect all of this, but about the story of Mordskog and the extremely dark entities were against me in this time. They were furious. And I know why they were furious, because in the last 10 years with Mordskog, I have used the complement of music that I told you, the spiritist and the spiritual complement, not just because music. And when I decided to finish 2013 with the murder of my friend, I stopped 1 year and they punished me because they were like, okay, you are now trying to go away of us, and they try to face me into death. And when
Bro.
they tried to face me into death, they told me, okay, if you are not worshiping death in this year that you take a break, we demand your death.
I know this
You
is a
know.
weird fucking thing, but I actually completely understand what you're talking about there.
So I was not dominating, now not taming these beasts, and I tried to reach light at some point to have the balance, you know. And when I did that, it's everything was pushing me to start over again. So I went. These things once 2017. I told you, but in the beginning, then 2017, I went. No, this is other thing. Just trying to make my timeline correct to not fuck it up. That I told you that I need a lot of concentration to make this interview, to not fuck up things. So when I went to the pyramids to make this rite with more quartz and to more like different energies from the universe and from the sun and from the moon, and more
Quartz, as in the stones.
yeah, exactly.
Right.
Obsidian and white quartz, jade, emerald, these stones that are also used in the left hand path and other rituals. So I make this in the pyramids. I made a request with my ancestors. I always do some personal rituals there to be in contact with my ancestors, even in the past. Since I have memory, I always take people from other countries or bands that I like, and I have a relationship, also a bond, more like a bond. I always support my friends, and I told them like, hey, if you are going to play here, let's go to the temples, and I show you some special things, local things, and I share my discoveries and my experience with them. And when I
If
make that, yep,
we ever sorry to interrupt you, but if we ever get to come to Mexico, I would fucking love to do something like that. By the way, just saying.
yeah, yes, it's like you have the answer already, So just pay your flight ticket or whatever, and then we sort out things here with pleasure.
I
But
appreciate it.
but the thing is, like, when I start to do that in March, I totally enlight my this darkness that was harming me, and then I made some spiritual works there, and then I just got enlightened, if I can say like that. Not removing my poisonous essence or maniac things or extreme ways to handle things. But when I made that, I was totally sure to to create, to renovate, and transmutate this energy into something above or
Sure.
the balance. Maybe not above, because I'm still in with these deities and I respect them. Just have the balance. So when I made that in the pyramids, I just got a spiritual awakening without doing anything, because about you told about the psychoactive um, psychoactive
Substances.
substances. Gracias. And of course, I have tried that, but in this time I was totally sober. I was not eating. Of course, I was doing a fasting to go there and special rituals to not
Okay. Yeah.
to reach the things. But when I made that, I say, okay, my ancestors have proof that they love me, and I love them, not just because I want to make a band or anything, because since I have memory, I have so much respect with the old civilizations in Mexico and in the world also, because I have studied from other the ones that I mentioned you, and they are connected. They are connected definitely, man. Even if we they don't have any technology or they didn't have any maps or anything, they are connected in a parallel um, world or location.
Well, the
So
idea is that perhaps they did have the technology, but that it was different to that of ours today, where it's more
exactly,
mechanical based, and that they were more.
exactly,
I mean, it's a complicated issue, and there's a lot of new findings on this, or in terms of like the old floods, or like the existence of civilizations long before we actually knew anything of it, or even the fact that even in ancient Egypt, perhaps what technology they had in order to actually create the pyramids, or what the pharaohs were doing,
yeah,
that was actually something that they had somehow inherited from a different
sure.
civilization, and there's a lot of
They
very interesting things to observe
it's
over that, and
interesting. We
it's
don't even know that.
yeah.
Yeah, we don't know that. Sorry that I interrupt you. We don't know that. Maybe they made this psychical telepathic thing to build things, because no one knows the truth. Even if you study a book, that's why I study mostly the old school currents and old school LHP and everything. Um, they and also with music, I'm normally not hear a new band if there's not a friend or a people that I respect or a person that have created other projects before. Even if sounds good, I have to meet the person and say, all right, practice what you preach, or you have we connect, and then I hear the band. And I don't want to sound like arrogant or something. It's just like the way I handle my listenings about music, and that's also the way that we compose music, because We are just taking the old school way to create our music, the things that we heard when we were um, partying or making in a really radical way of surviving, a misanthropic way, emotionally or whatever. But this is another topic. The thing is, like, when I search an answer of my ancestors, they have shown me so many answers when I go into the temples. And there's answers that you cannot even believe, that when they answer me, some clouds come and rain for 20 seconds, and they in a sunny day, and then they go out. These kind of answers that are prove me that I should have also so many respect and worship to my ancestry. So when that happens in March, I also spoke to Ole and say, like, man, we are going to because we wanted to play in Beyond the Gates 2018, and I told him, like, hey, these harsh things happen. I just came to my mind if I want to release, because I have some old photos for 2008 wearing a kopili, that is the feather crown.
Yeah, yeah.
And I sent him the pictures, and I told him, like, you know, this will be so attractive to the Scandinavian audience to make a representation of my background,
Of course.
more like this Mordskog that is all Norwegian, that people will say, like, oh, this name, all Norwegian game, being a Mexican, try to copycat our roots, and it won't be interested. So I told to Ole, I said, like, hey man, I want to make this, and it's brand new. I just want to search for the tools to make it, and we want to compose new music in 4 months. And he said, that's a good idea, and I can also play a half set of Mordskog to make this kind of evolution, like the dark thing through the ascension, through the awakening. I cannot say, like, this kind of Rise of Mictlan is nothing to do with light and peace and everything, because you spoke about the rights of our ancestors and everything. It's brutal. It's also dark, but it's also not in the chaotic, primitive way of darkness. It's still dark, and it's still brutal, even more brutal, but for the gods, for the sun, for the moon, for the rain, for the elements. And it's still the same dark essence, but not just in the dark. You can see light, and you can see a sun, and people were murdered for the sun, for the cosmovision from the universe. So we have the balance, but it's still the essence of what we want to express. And after that, I also spoke to some Polish band, because they came here. Old school guy that runs a label that plays in a Polish band, that a lot of people have controversy because they use these costumes, they made these things, and a lot of people hate them. They split up now, and they have two names of this Polish band, but one is with this guy that runs the label of Poland since the old days, since the early
I think
90s.
I now know
And
which
the other,
band you're referring
okay,
to. Yeah, okay.
And it's good, also. And this band, it was funny because I met them in Romania, but I met them in Mexico first, and then I met another band that is also hiding with costumes and hoodies from America, that is now, like, really popular, also with a German label. And I met the guys that they came here. We spoke, and we respect each other. And I told them, like, hey man, you just guys make your band a couple of years ago, and it's growing so much because your music, your visual thing or whatever, but you're growing so much. I want to do the same thing, but proud of my ancestry and my ancestors, and also to start over again and to make Mordskog, like traditional black metal thing, and also something genuine, really genuine, that no one have made before in black metal. So they say, do it, man, you're a smart guy, and whatever their words, and they say, just do it, and good luck. After that, I just told to all says like, hey man, I want to make that, and half set. They say, yeah, do it. So I have three months just to create, to compose with my best friend Murmur, five songs, and then we made these 5 songs. Then we went to Beyond the Gates, and I called a friend from Chicago that used to play with with Demonic Christ and with Commandant. A friend, like, can you do the drums? And yeah, he recorded drums. And then let's go to Norway. And then I have session musicians from Diabolicum from Sweden and other bands. And then we made Beyond the Gates, and everything starts there without recording anything. But we made half set. The Jing Jang, if I can say it like that, or whatever, the Ouroboros, the start and the end. And then if you read the Bardo Methodology interview, we says like, we want to improve this like kind of pre-Hispanic instruments with Rise of Mictlan, with Mordskog. I will speak about this, but whatever. We want to use these instruments, but still there's a bad taste in the amount that Mordskog was not working with this concept. So, okay, let's do it. It came to my mind to make the Rise of Mictlan, the rise of the underworld, because the Mictlan is the underworld in the Aztec mythology, and the
That's
underworld,
and
the underworld. Yeah.
Yeah, there's the god of Twilight. Is it Holot or Yolot? I don't know how you say it. With like XOL, and that's essentially like the, from my little bit of Aztec knowledge, that's the god of Twilight, which essentially leads the souls through the 9 stages of the underworld.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like Mictlantecutli. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Sure, to the 9th stage. Yeah, but the thing is, like, I was living in the underworld with these things that happen in me. So when I say the rise of the underworld, is like I'm living in the underworld, and I rise the underworld with another entity. So I create the rise of Mictlan.
Very interesting. I see.
So when I made this with Murmur, I got the idea, and I made this with Murmur we made Beyond the Gates, and people were fascinated because I was telling also, and it was really good feeling, man. It's like, can you just think, a lot of people that I worship in the 90s when I create Mordskog and before, with really great Norwegian bands that I was a fan. I can admit humbly, I was a fan of these people. Then when we met 10 years later, I was a supporter. I was not the fan, but I was supporting, taking them to the temples, working like a kind of a manager without payment, speaking with people to bring the catering and everything, just to supporter.
Sure.
After being a fan and a supporter, and after this support, I became a buddy, a mate, a friend, or whatever, And after that, in Beyond the Gates, I went to Norway. This kind of old school people from the early 90s went in the concert with me, drinking and supporting. And for me was, these kind of things that you cannot measure, because when you see them in the early 90s, and then you see the releases and everything, then support, and then bonds, and then they come and then take you to a restaurant in Bergen, to eat certain things, to show you the culture. Wow, it's like this kind of evolution or evolution. It comes in the same parallel way, Shai. So when I was with doing this with Mordskog and Rise of Mictlan, I was doing this like an individual also to grow
Sure.
myself. And the crowd was fascinating because they were not doing anything in Norway. In Bergen was just like that, looking at us. And I say, my motherfuckers, I came through cross from the ocean for a lot of man just to arrive to Amsterdam. We took 10 hours. Then we didn't have enough money because we agreed with the organizer a certain payment that was not to pay everyone. So we agreed that I fixed the session musicians and whatever, and I have to travel by bus 25 hours, more than the
Ooh.
plane. 10 hours just to by plane, 25 hours by bus, Flixbus to Bergen. And I cannot regret because in the end, I we saw this in Oslo to Bergen, these wonderful landscapes. Like a lot of bands are speaking about Norway and blah blah blah. And man, I have ate shit, and I have know what is real sacrifice that we don't receive any support of the government. That's where there's a lot of criminality. If you have a family and you're unemployed, you have to kill and you have to kidnap and you have to um to um to to rove just to get some money and to feed your family, because family is the best that you can have. So you will kill for your family. And a lot of criminals, yeah, they kill, they kidnap, they torture and everything just to have the comfort to bring food to the families. And that's the thing that it's really really harsh in Mexico. People are not seeing that. People in other European countries, yeah, I'm unemployed and I say I devote to heavy metal. All right, you will get the pension like in Sweden to be a heavy metal fan, and you will receive payment because you are not disabled to work because you love heavy metal. Man, that will never happen in countries like us, for example.
Yeah, yeah, I
So
understand that, man. Because we're
yeah,
from this background of, just being, like just the fact that you have to accept the concept and the reality of death to such an extent, it changes who you are as a person. And then when you combine it too with art and the suffering that goes into it, I think it creates certain perspectives which are, I think, actually undeniably source of growth for the person, and I love your story of obviously growing up over there, everything that you've been through, growing up finding Iron Maiden, and then later
yeah,
Samael and Deicide, and then just continuing like that under those conditions, and even on a spiritual level connecting with the deities that you did,
yeah,
but then coming all the way from Norway to from Mexico to Norway,
yeah.
and then performing in front of all those people, and then sharing that magic with everyone. I think that's a fantastic story, and to be honest, I'm very excited to hear more of what you have got coming up. So be it with Rise of Mictlan, so as well as obviously Mordskog, which is now Salve La Muerte. So very much looking
Hmm.
forward to all of that. And just to wrap things up, would you like to let the audience know if there's anything in particular that they should keep an eye out for? If there's anything that you would want them to check out or follow you on or anything like that?
Yeah. Actually, it's like I never spoke before, so I extend my story so much. This is just like the 30% of the story, and I think we are tight of time. But it's
I
like
know. I
you, man.
think
It's like
we can probably I can easily see like we could have probably done a lot longer. But perhaps another time we can continue this. But I think it's been fantastic. I've really enjoyed hearing your stories on this.
yeah, yeah. It's like like you left your country. I don't know anything about you, but I never supposed things because I read a book about old old Toltec is like our old civilization Mexican to not expect things or not suppose things, to think things strong, speak strong about things, and never, yeah, blah blah blah. So yeah, you left your country because you wanted to grow, to rise, and to have a like higher level of wisdom, intellectual comfort, or whatever. Not to be in the primitive fights, not lose your life with, as I told you, like a kid that is 12 years or whatever, or being bombed by accidentally or something. And then you are, yeah, you are reaching your goals, you are reaching your ambitions, you are thirsty for knowledge, creating a band with great musicians, or have a proper work, or to get a better quality of life or whatever. I don't know. You have never telling me about that, but I think that's the thing that why you are in UK now. But the thing is, like with me, it's the same thing. It's like the Rise of Mictlan after Norway. I just say like, okay, I want to do something genuine in tribute of my ancestors, and believe me, Mexico. No one in Europe, mostly maybe the 50%, doesn't give a shit about Mexico. They know about criminality and cartels, violence, and drugs and everything. But this is just, man, 20% of Mexico. The worshippers of this cult that now everyone is extending, that we start this cult in Mexico, and now it's extending to Argentina, in the 60s, late 70s, to Argentina and Europe or whatever. Okay, it's like we have this 20%. Yeah, it's a lot of high percentage, 20%, 30% of that things. Because in black metal, you're searching for that. Okay, violence, chaos, rape, kidnap, extortion, white girl trafficking, prostitutes, blah, 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 a lot of things. But also, we have the best food, one most delicious food, and not just tacos, man. A lot of people just say tacos and Corona. No, man, we have a lot of things. We have our culture that is really enriching, more than the corruption, more than the politics system or whatever. We have a big amount of ancestry or of culture, and it just not just the Aztecs, man. We have the Mayans, we have the Olmecs. The Olmecs were the first civilization, and it's a really old civilizations after Christ. Really, nearly after Christ, the Olmecs came because the Mesoamerican civilization is divided by three: the preclassic, the classic, and the post-classic. The preclassic as the Olmecs. The classic are the Mayas, the fucking smart motherfuckers, and the post-classic is the warriors, the Aztecs. And after the Aztecs, the Mexicas, and then the conquest. And in the conquest, a lot of people believe that the conquest, we were conquered because just the Spanish have more technology. That's fucking not true, man. Because we were more. I'm speaking about my tribe, my country. We were more, but the Aztecs were tyrants as well. They have so many enemies, and they conquer so many locals. So the locals turn against them.
Against
So
them,
it
yeah,
was the
sure.
Spanish, the Spaniards, and also the small tribes that conquered the Aztecs, and then the conquest was done. But we have so many things, that these things about the machos and the guys that are very cowboy thing. It's, yeah, because Spanish conquer us, they dominate us at some point, they dominate our women, they rape our women, and then because of that, we have also the human sacrifice, and from the gods and cosmovision, that the sun and the universe align and not be against everything. Okay, That's why the cartels and dangerous people are making really, really um, brutal murders and things we have in our genes. It's like a pit bull, man. Even if you teach a pit bull, her instinct it's to be a beast and a harsh dog. You know, you cannot change that,
Yeah.
and that's a point that I want to speak now, really, really fast. Every people complain about why we are harsh or brutal about the cartels and everything. Is part of our genetics. It's there in our in yeah, and about the story, and it's like in a chip, and that's why through generations we are like that, and then after that you create personal disorders, you create borderline, you create a lot
It
of
almost becomes a
mental
characteristics of basically
mental
like
disorders, man.
yeah.
A lot
So
of
I
people
think
judge
that
me.
I
A
think
lot
that
of people judge me. You know, a lot of
yeah.
people judge me sometimes because I'm really emotional, primitive sometimes. And Europeans are more reserved. They are more arrogant. They are more like, okay, we are in a comfort zone. I don't want to generalize people because I have a lot of friends and a lot of brothers, but mostly they don't even care about South America.
Hmm.
But they eat tacos, they eat Corona, they care about doing drugs that comes from here. They care about doing some psychoactive substance that comes from here, also from Mexico. They also wear here in folklore, Mexican folklore. They um, they want just to avoid things, but Mexico we have a lot of things, cultural things, good food, crazy stuff to have fun, good flora, fauna, we, beaches, and also Latin, same word, but in
Different
another
kind of
direction. Yeah, you know,
sure.
and you know, a lot of people is like, okay, we have in a comfort zone, and I don't want to. It's dangerous to go to Mexico or Aztecs. Oh, we I don't want to say about certain civilization, but we are better, we're strong, you know, we make these boats and we are warriors. All right, man. The Rise of Mictlan, coming to the topic and the question that you asked me, comes to share my story, my cultural things, thoughts, my knowledge. Yeah, I wear this feather Tlatuani. Tlatuani is the leader of the all the warriors with the feathers. That this Kopili is in Austria in a museum. You search for this. I don't want to make a competition with civilizations in Scandinavia or in Greece or in Israel. I want just to share my knowledge, my multisensual experience with everyone in the world, with clay instruments made by a shaman, with this ocarina of, I want to share this. I want to
It's
share the
cool as fuck.
traditional Haiti, Congo, African currents
Jesus, look at that
of
fucking thing, man.
certain things, obsidian
Yeah.
eyes, you
Yeah, for
know,
anyone who's just
obsidian
listening to the
eyes.
audio versions, you got some weird ass fucking instrument there, but it's
I want
fascinating.
to make this like the god of death, a flute, create off by clay without any mold, create in oven, brick oven, just with fire, and the shaman just hearing the tunes without learning anything about music or anything to create this and to show so much because this is magic, and when I play this the phone start to move. I believe in
Yeah,
energies, man.
that was weird as fuck. I didn't
And now
say, man, that was so fucking strange. What just happened? Because your audio actually cut out when
I hear
you
I hear
started doing
now.
it.
Yeah, and if you ask, there's a friend from a Belgian band, one of old school band,
Yeah.
most old school band from Belgium besides Ancient Black, but this is other band, and yeah, from Ghent. This friend came to sometimes, and we made something in the pyramids, and we offered some blood in a resin that was this human sacrifice, blah blah. When we sealed this pact in a sunny day, it came rain to answer, and then the clouds, and he said like, wow, your ancestors are real. I told you this version, but I never told you about who was and with which band. But energy is energy, man. Everything you believe in, even like the philosophers says, even of a stone, if you give devotion, will, and energy for this stone, it will work. Everything will worship. It's nothing. It's not any competition about if this deity or if this current of this if spirit is sect or circle. No, it's like the will and the devotion that you put in some in certain thing. That's the thing that will work. And these instruments, for me, they were created with magic. They were created with devotion, with will, with sacrifice and everything. And that's the thing that I want to express to all the European, African, Australian, or whatever audience. That's why nowadays, Salve La Muerte and the Rise of Mictlan or whatever, I want to show myself transparent, without mask, without anything that break this humbly or transparency. I want to show myself the way I am, and that people appreciate the culture and all the learnings and the sacrifice that we have strived with. And that's the thing. Rise of Mictlan, to finish, to make this conclusion, and you asked me, we didn't record anything. Yeah, we didn't record. Why? Because we didn't record anything, and I want to create more expectation, not just because the way we look. It's because, man, we didn't have internet, we didn't have social media, we didn't have digital platform. I want that people start in the opposite way. Who are these guys? What they are showing, what they are offering. People can speak. And when we were in the 90s, when you find something, it was because people were speaking. People were speaking, and they were saying, have you seen this?
Based on word of mouth, basically.
It creates, exactly, that they create the curiosity to find it by your own. The Rise of Mictlan, it's a primeval multisensual experience of Mesoamerican culture. But you cannot, if you want to know about the Rise of Mictlan, you have to attend our shows. And it's for this beginning, it was Norway in 2018. Then we made, we're supposed to play back in 2020, but the pandemic struck. So we make this virtual backend that it was made in 2 days, all the small documentary 2 days, and then 2022 Metal Magic in Denmark, and backend like now. And we didn't want to accept more, because if you are interested to do it, just go. And also, we are going to release a couple of videos from Salve La Muerte and for Rise of Mictlan of this concert. Because we have never recorded even a music video with Mordskog of Rise of Mictlan. Can you believe that? In 25 years, never a music video. I never show my face in photos or without glasses or whatever. And I don't want...
Yeah, which is why, again, I appreciate you doing this interview, man. And it's been really fucking cool.
Yeah, thank you, Shai. And you know what's that? I don't feel anything supreme or anything. I'm just a human being trying to express humbly what I feel. and to reserve my energy to the right windows and to the right exposures. So that's...
I can appreciate that, brother. I think, yeah, absolutely. And I think it's been fantastic and, really excited to hear more of everything that you've got coming up. And I don't know when this might happen, but it'd be really cool to actually see Rise of Mictlan in the flesh one day. Just as a final thing as well, for everyone who's listened so far, where can people find you? What's the best place for them to come and check out some of your work?
Yeah, nowadays it's just like we have the traditional social media. We don't have Spotify, and we don't have a SoundCloud or anything yet. But now we are. This is 22 of January, so I think like in 1 month, 22 of February, we will unleash everything for both bands. For Salve La Muerte, you can find us in the digital media, and from the Rise of Mictlan as well. We are going to release a couple of videos, and the new EPs of both bands, they will be for everyone. I just made this, as I told you, just to keep the old school essence alive, and through speakings, people can reach us. Also, we are playing in Germany in under Blackthorn in June, in the last week of June, with both bands. So people that have witnessed.
Oh, great!
Yeah, people that have in Berlin. So people that have witnessed our ceremonies in Wacken and Norway and Metal Magic, they know really what we are speaking about. It's not just music, and humbly I want to unleash and release everything that we live in this country, in Mexico. Everything spiritually, mentally, in all the senses, but without expecting anything, just to share what we live, experience, knowledge, wisdom, for above and for below, and that's it. And for the people that's
as above, so below.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much, brother. Sounds fucking great, and looking forward to all of that. And so for everyone who's listening, if you've made it so far, thank you. I hope you've enjoyed this conversation, because I know I did. I very much enjoyed listening to you, man. And I'll put a link of all of the stuff that you're doing at the moment and all the social media whatnots in the description, so people can go check that out and give you a follow. And of course, as always, to everyone who has listened to the podcast so far, thank you very much. And we'll see you on the next episode of Iblis Manifestations. Salve La Muerte.
Salve La Muerte. And if you guys reach at this point of the podcast, I really appreciate that, because I'm really a complex individual and my mind is always chaotic and everything going so wrong mostly of the time. But if you reach in this point, is gracias, muchas gracias, y nos vemos muy pronto en Europa, en todas las partes del mundo, y Salve La Muerte. And speak soon. Thank you so much, Shai, for reaching me and try to discover something different than the traditional or the normal things that you probably, or the people are searching for.
Right on. My pleasure, brother. See you all folks later. Cheers.